Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, you can hear me, right? Are you trying?
Yes, Prabhuji, I can.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so we'll begin the class today. So we have been discussing the characteristics of the soul as informed by Lord Krishna to Arjuna. The conversation began with Krishna giving the understanding of the soul for the past few verses, especially starting from 19 or even before that, actually 14, 15 onwards. We have been discussing these characteristics. I will just go over the last two. Yeah, so this one is important. We discussed this last week. Vasamsi jirnani yata vihaya navani grihnati naroparani tata sarirani vihaya jirnani anyani samyati navani dehi. Vasamsi jirnani, just like the dress, old dress gets worn out. Right? As the person puts on new garments, giving up the old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and the useless ones. So the jiva continuously changes the bodies. The jiva has no death. It is eternally existing. But the body has transformations. Body is born, it develops, it produces, it stays in that stage for some time, produces some offsprings, and then dwindles and dies. These transformations go through in the body. But the soul is immutable. It doesn't change. It is eternally the same. So Krishna is giving Arjuna the wisdom that you should not give up your duty for the sake of the death of your relatives, because you should not give up on your duty as a kshatriya. You have a duty to perform, and you cannot anyway stop death. In spite of all the words that you're saying, you're only performing your duty, and there is no way you can stop the death. When time comes, everybody has to leave the body. So in the inevitable reason for, in due course of time everybody will die, that should not stop one to perform his duty. Yeah, here are further characteristics. Nainam chindanti sastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha, nachainam kledyam topo, nasoshati soshayati marutaha. Marutivinda. The soul can never be cut to pieces by any weapon, nor burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by wind. So last week we also discussed this concept. So none of this, you are going to use weapons against your enemy in this war, but ultimately it's not going to do anything to the soul, that is the real person. It's going to only affect the body, and that is you are doing as part of your duty. It cannot be burned by fire. The soul cannot be burned by fire. So it means that the soul can exist even in fire. And there are living entities called extremophiles, I think. Yeah, extremophiles. They live in extremities of the weather, whether it is extreme cold or extreme hot. I mean, we cannot imagine ourselves living in such conditions, but a suitable body exists to live even in such conditions. So that's what we have to understand by this concept. It cannot be burned by fire. It means that, I mean, when the scientists say, oh, whether life exists on moon, they try to look at the conditions that make humans livable there. And considering that human cannot live, like there is no enough level of oxygen, or temperature, or gravity, or vegetation, or rain, whatever reasons they give, that is only because we are considering from what we understand as what are the conditions for living in a particular atmosphere, right? We think that we need certain atmosphere. But as I said, there are living entities even in fire. So it is just matter of our inconceivability that we cannot see those living entities. It's very much possible if the living entity has a subtle body, not the gross body, that can exist even in any higher planets, any like moon or sun. It should not be affected. Only the kind of body that we have will cannot sustain that. Just like fish can naturally live in water, we cannot live naturally in water. Its body is made for it. Our body is not made for it. So similarly, it doesn't make sense that all these innumerable planets exist in this universe and there is life only on Earth. The life as we know, or as we conceive through the instruments of our senses, are the instruments that science has in its outreach, may not be able to discover. That does not mean that there is nothing beyond this. That is that is being very closed in our understanding. The whole point of how science develops is there are things that we don't know and we try to understand, and science keep on pursuing that. But some pseudo so-called scientists think that if science does not understand, then there cannot be anything that exists. But we can all understand that our senses are limited. What we can see, what we can hear, what we can understand is all within certain limits. It is not that we can understand everything through our senses, because our senses are imperfect. If our instruments are imperfect, the knowledge we gain will be imperfect. So we cannot certainly say about everything. If I say life exists in moon, nobody can contradict, because there is no way to contradict scientifically also, because there is a limitation on what we can perceive. But the scriptures say the scriptures are beyond human origin. They're not given by people of same defects that we have. So scriptural authority is considered a higher authority, and we accept scripture, right? So here we hear about the characteristics of the soul. This cannot be derived from any experimentation of modern science. This is beyond that. It cannot be burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by wind. We can find some symptoms, like I was sharing the examples of afterlife, people coming, living in a certain life, in a certain place, and then coming back in another body in the next life, in a similar atmosphere. I was giving those, those are all about like 4,000, 5,000 cases, which are scientifically proven, which actually prove that there is something that exists beyond the body and that can continue to exist. Anyway, it cannot be moistened by water nor withered by wind. It's beyond any natural forces. The soul exists beyond all of this. So by learning this, we can understand that we are eternal. Our life is not just this flash moment of life. This one life is like a flash. We are much, much beyond this. And that kind of relieves us from temporary miseries. Sometimes we get bogged down by our current situation, right? But understand that this is just a flash. This one life is flash, and then within that one life, this current circumstance that you are in, that is giving you suffering or happiness, anything, is just Nimitta matram, just a momentary thing. There is nothing to be too happy about it or too miserable about it. Okay? And nothing is permanent. And then, next verse. You have any questions so far? We'll move on. Achedyoyam adahyoyam klejyo sosya evacha nitya sarvagatastanur achaloyam sanatana. This individual soul is unbreakable. Achedyo, unbreakable. Adhyaya means adhaya, adahyaya means cannot be burned. Again, similar concept as before. Insoluble, unbreakable, nor can it and can neither be burned nor dried. He is everlasting, eternal, present everywhere, sarvagataha, unchangeable, means immutable, it cannot be changed. We discussed already in the previous verse. Immovable, it doesn't move, and eternal is the same. Again, it's the same thing, always. So few important and confusing terms here. We discussed this briefly last week also. Present everywhere, sarvagataha. What does it mean? Does it mean that the soul exists everywhere, the one soul that exists? No, it does not mean that, because in the previous verses it was already confirmed in this Vasamsa Jirnani Yata Vihaya, this verse, the soul moves from one body to another body, just like we give up old garments and start wearing new garments as soon as the old one is worn out. Right? We don't continue to use the same garments. Similarly, the body, when it becomes useless because of disease or old age or accident or whatever, when the body becomes useless, we just change it. The soul moves on. So when the soul moves on from one body to another body, it means that it is it does not exist everywhere. It exists in one place, but move. That's the reason we discussed that it moves from one body to another body in the previous verse. So what does it mean? It can present everywhere. It can be present everywhere means it can exist in fire. It can exist, because we already discussed in the previous verse, the soul cannot be burned by fire. So it has no effect. None of the material circumstances have any effect on the soul. So it can exist anywhere and everywhere. It is unchangeable, immovable, it cannot be moved, and eternally the same. Immovable means, again, what does it mean by immovable? Means I am walking, does the soul move? So it means that the soul cannot be moved by any material force. Means, can I move my soul with my hand? No, because you can't even perceive it. The soul is attached to the subtle body because of its various desires or whatever. So soul identifies with the body, both gross body and subtle body. And so in that particular situation, the soul moves along with the subtle body because it has unfulfilled desires. And so it is attached in that sense. So it moves along with it, but on its own, we cannot by any instrument or by anything, we cannot move it. Now the 25th verse.
Prabhuji, one question in this same paragraph.
Yes, Sagar Prabhu.
So what is the difference between atomic soul and intelligent souls?
Atomic soul, where is that?
After liberation from material contamination.
Correct.
The atomic soul may prefer to remain as a spiritual spark in the purgatories.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But intelligent soul like
Hmm.
try to associate with the personality of Godhead.
Right. Right. So if you remember, in like couple of weeks back, we discussed that the jiva can attain liberation, right? So in
Right.
that we discussed that there are three types of liberation: Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaniti. Shabdai. So
Yeah.
there are, the first kind of liberation is the jiva merges into Brahmajyoti. Brahmajyoti is the effulgence or um, the pure consciousness that exists beyond this material existence.
Mhm.
Many people say, you merge into God after liberation and all, right? So that concept is basically referring to Brahmajyoti. Brahmajyoti is basically it is the spiritual energy emitting from God. It exists beyond the material realm.
Mhm.
So the jiva can merge into that. That is one kind of liberation. But the situation there is the jiva is in a blissful state in that Brahmajyoti, but it cannot, but the jiva by its nature, just like can you stay in a wonderful planet, say in a Swargaloka, where you have all the facilities, you have the best food, the best beds to sleep, the best entertainment, everything is there. But the only problem is that you are alone in that planet. Can you stay there forever?
No.
Yeah, because we need relation. Jiva, whether it is whether it is in the liberated state or in the conditioned state like we are, the nature of the jiva is to engage in service, engage and connect. So in this Brahmajyoti, there is no opportunity for the for the liberated soul to actually engage in the service of God. That opportunity is not there. But by nature, by dharma, the dharma of the nature of the soul, the dharma or the nature of the soul is to serve God. That is the true nature of the soul.
Okay.
Now, because that is available in liberation, so there are Bhagavan and Paramatma relations, right? The other two relations. So where the jiva goes beyond the Brahmajyoti and enters the spiritual planets, where they get the opportunity to serve Vishnu, engage in a loving relationship with Lord. That is the original position of the jiva. So in that liberation, there is that is what
Intelligent souls.
intelligent soul means. Yeah. So they go to spiritual planets. They go beyond that because ultimately, even though you get liberated in Brahmajyoti, there are verses in our scriptures that describe that after staying there for a long, long time, could be millions of years, the jiva again comes back because it is not a perfect place for its stay. There is the jiva is not fully satisfied. Of course, in this world we don't want to live more than 100 years, but there you can live for like pretty long time. But still, that's not the best place, ideal place, the best place. It's definitely blissful place. The Brahmajyoti liberation is a great thing. It's also a liberation. But however, compared to the liberation in Vaikuntha, that's not considered as great in the scripture.
The atomic soul can come back to this material world.
Yes, it will come back. Yeah. So the atomic soul, um, don't think that it is going to be just like atomic in nature, even in go after going to a spiritual planet. Don't consider it like a dot.
Yes.
People consider that like a particle. No, so when it goes to spiritual planet, it is awarded a spiritual body. Just like you have a physical body right now, you will
Mhm.
be awarded a spiritual body.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So in that spiritual body, the particular the jiva engages in his eternal service. So all of us originally belong there. This middle planet is a very foreign place for us, in the sense that everything here is temporary. But you see, consider your soul. Your soul is actually permanent. So it is a very odd place for us to stay here. That's why we go through so much suffering, because we hear of people dying of COVID, right? We feel sad because that it's to die is not the nature of the soul. It's a contradictory concept to the soul. Soul is eternal. So pain is unnatural to the soul. That's why we suffer when we have pain, because that's not the natural state for the soul.
But this soul is already liberated from material contamination, right? So then
Yeah. So this
why
soul.
it can come back to
Oh yeah.
why
So
can it come back to metal world?
right, because it's not fully satisfied in that state. Though it is like I was giving the example of a person in a one needs to engage in the service. That is the nature of the jiva, the soul. The soul, jivera swarupahai, swarupa means the nature. Jivera swarupahai, krishnera nityadasa means, I mean, you can replace Krishna with Rama, doesn't matter. But the point is that the jiva's original nature, the dharma, just like what is the nature of fire? To be hot,
Right.
right? And give light. If that particular heat or light is taken out of that particular fire, it's not fire anymore, isn't it? So what is that intrinsic nature of the jiva? What is that defines the nature of the jiva? The scriptures say that that particular nature, the swadharma, the real nature of the jiva, of course, we define in terms of characteristics and properties for material things, but for the jiva, which is full of consciousness, that particular dharma is to serve. When it serves, when you serve your family, you become happy. When you become lazy, you become guilty, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. When you suppose you are collecting some salary from your office, when you serve to your capacity, on a particular day, you're not distracted on internet and you give your best to your office, you feel satisfied, because what is satisfaction? Satisfaction is a dharma of the soul. It comes from within. It is the matter of the heart. It's not matter of the mind. So these are all characteristics of the soul. To feel love, to to feel sorrow. These are all the characteristics of the soul. So the jiva feels satisfied in service. It cannot forever not serve anybody, even though it is in a liberated state. Means it has no contamination of any of the. We'll discuss more about that. The modes of nature. It becomes not so satisfied in that condition of liberated state. So even though this is considered a liberated state, what does liberated state mean? It just means that the influence of the modes of the nature is not there. The sattva guna, rajoguna, and tamoguna. We'll understand this more in the future chapters. But the whole point of liberation is to be relieved from the influence of these modes. And those cause all the suffering to the jiva right now uh, so when that influence is taken away from on the jiva, then he's blissful. He has no uh, reason to be miserable about. So that is what it is. I hope it is clear, Prabhu.
Yeah, Prabhu. Thank you.
Avyaktoyam achinchoyam avikaryoyam uchate tasmad evam vidhi painam nanu sochitumarhasi. It is said that the soul is invisible. inconceivable, immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body. Yeah. So Krishna is giving further reasons on similar ground as given so far. The soul cannot be seen. None of the instruments, whether your naked eye or all the telescope or microscope, whatever you take, none of the instruments which are an extension of our senses, none of them can actually see the soul. It is not visible. It is not physical in nature. It is spiritual in nature. So it is not visible. It is inconceivable because we generally have our mind can only conceive of material things, right? So we cannot conceive beyond what our mental capacity allows us to, because my mind has certain limitation. We have to accept that. So this is not something that is conceivable within our mind. So then none of the research or experimentation can lead to understanding of this. So how do we understand more about this? Through the God-given scriptures. That's the only way. So we understand about soul from the guidance of the scriptures, and as we practice yoga, that becomes a realization through our experience. So experience is the only way to verify these concepts. There is no way we can directly study the soul through our material instruments. It's beyond that. Again, immutable. Like we said, discussed before, our body goes through mutations. It is born, it grows, and then it stays for some time, and then produces offsprings, and then dwindles, and then dwindles and gets destroyed. That mutability is there for the body, but for the soul there is no mutability. It is immutable, means eternally the same concept which was mentioned in the previous verse at the end, sanatana. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body. So that is the nature of the soul, and that is what the real person is. So in that case, what is the point that you are worrying about this body? It doesn't make sense. So Prabhupada discusses here about the magnitude of the soul, how the soul is so small. By the way, at the end of today's session, around 6 o'clock, there are few of our children who would come and introduce about. So basically, they are they are educated in our Vedic school here. They're going to talk about few books. So they'll come at 6 o'clock. I'll describe when the time comes. Yeah. The infinite soul, being unchangeable, can never become equal to infinite soul or the supreme personality of Godhead. This concept is repeated in the Vedas is in different ways, just to confirm the stability of the conception of the soul. The repetition of something is necessary in order that we understand matter thoroughly without error. So the jiva is atomic in nature, and God is vibhu or infinite in nature. He is also spiritual in nature, but he is infinite. Means if the individual soul has things in minute order, the God has those things, those characteristics in infinite order. His capacity is unlimited. Just like your consciousness is spread only within your body, but God perceives everything within the existence. So that is how God's capability is. So these are, some of these concepts are very much inconceivable at this point. They appear quite odd because you know it's not something within the reach of our mental capabilities. But even I had this struggle in the beginning to accept these concepts thoroughly and fully. Uh, but staying patient and practicing sadhana will make all these concepts very naturally acceptable. These are not very high. These become all of these truths can be very much become verifiable facts in our life. But we need patience, we need sadhana, we need certain way of lifestyle to actually get there. And time and with associating with people who understand this and practice it, all this will come into play. So that's when we these truths become very naturally acceptable. uh, yeah. अथा चैनं नित्यजातं नित्यं वा मन्यसे मृतं तथापि त्वां महाबाहो नैनं शोचितुमर्हसि. If, however, you think that the soul or the symptoms of soul will always be born and die forever, you will have no reason to lament, O mighty armed Arjuna. So, what is the point here? So, Krishna is talking the atheistic concept here. In case if you, because even at the time of Krishna, there were people who did not believe in soul. It is not that everybody is theistic at the time and now many are atheistic. So there are philosophies that are atheistic in nature from the beginning of creation. And so Krishna is just giving, just pure reductionistic, from the reductionistic approach, though it's not the fact, and this is not the real reason that um, it's not a fact, but Krishna is giving a reason. If you think, if somebody thinks like that, that you think that the soul or the symptoms of life will always be born and die forever, you will have no reason to lament. That's what modern science believes, and that's what even uh, in the past there are these philosophers called Lokayatikas and Vaibhashikas. So these are people, are the philosophers of the past who actually believed that there is no soul. When Lord Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita, it appears that such philosophers existed, and they were known as the Lokayatikas and Vaibhashikas. Such philosophers. So we'll continue from here. So all created beings are unmanifest in their beginning, manifest in their interim state, and unmanifest again when annihilated. So what need is there for lamentation? So there is, for Jiva, there is no real reason for lamentation. So this is actually, Krishna is talking about the process of creation. And so there are there is Bhagavatam in the second canto and third canto, the in-depth description of exactly how this creation happens and how this creation sustains and how ultimately it is annihilated. So all of these concepts are very much discussed in Srimad Bhagavatam in depth. But Krishna is just giving an overview here for Arjuna, just to get the concept clear that the soul has no death. And all of this that you're talking about, that you're lamenting about, is all about the body. And the body has a beginning, manifest, and then unmanifest. It goes through these changes. So for this reason, there is no real reason for you to lament. You should not avoid performing your duty for the sake of, uh, you know, for the sake of death of the body. That doesn't. That's not a sound reason. That's not a sound reason for giving up the fight. Okay, so before starting next verse, I think we can start the next verse next week. Okay, this is done. So we have few kids joining us. They are from our Vedic school. Have they joined? Yeah, I see Ria here. I hope.
Prabhuji, Saimrita's here too.
Oh yeah,
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
yeah. And Kavya is also there. He's joining you. Yeah. So we have a very important festival called Bhadra Purnima coming up soon, and these children are going to talk about some of the books that we have, and it is very auspicious to have those books or take those books on that day, Bhadra Purnima. They're going to describe about it. So these children were educated on Bhagavad Gita from very young age. In our temple environment, we have Vedic school, and we have very qualified teachers who educate them. If you have small children of age 4 or 5 or 6, or above, we have very wonderful, soul nourishing spiritual education for them at a very young age. And these children were enthused to share some of the things that they're going to talk specifically about the books here, and you can really see how they have such faith in these books, our scriptures. It takes us a lot of effort after being educated with in the modern science to really believe in the scriptures and accept these facts now. But these children, for them it comes so natural because they were trained at a very young age, kaumaram. At that age, whatever is imprinted in your mind, or the value system that you are imprinted in, that would stay for long. And that faith can be unshaken. It cannot be shaken up. So we'll hear from them. So is Kavya there also? Are you all ready now?
I think we just have to wait for Kavya Prabhuji.
Okay, is she the one to speak?
No,
Actually, I go first.
Saimrita, actually, you can go first, and she's last anyways.
Okay.
So,
Kavya just replied to me in Teams, so I think she's online. Ria, I'll start, and can you message Kavya meanwhile?
Okay, should I screen share for you, or are you a screen share?
I'll screen share if
Okay.
you.
You can start sharing your screen.
Okay.
I hope Kavya would join. Otherwise, you can. So this is an initiative by Seattle Chota Mridanga team, a small group of children who were trained in the knowledge of these books, and they also encourage others to read, to study these books. Okay, who is going to start?
So Prabhuji, I'm going to start. Prabhuji, can you see a square thing here?
Yeah, I can see your screen. Yes.
Oh, okay.
No, Saimrita, I only see the slide.
Okay.
Yeah, Saimrita, remember when we were practicing you couldn't see it?
Yeah, okay. Okay. So, Hare Krishna, my name is Saimrita.
Yes, Sai Amrita, we can hear you. Go ahead.
The rest of you can introduce.
Okay, Hare Krishna, my name is Kavya.
Hey Krishna, my name is Ria,
Actually, Ria,
and I like to sing.
yeah, sorry. Today we had a little less attendance, unfortunately, because of Vinayak Chaudhary. But anyway, I told Prabhu to continue. I wanted you all to speak today only, so you can continue. But otherwise we would have about 20 students. But today we had only about 13, 14 students. Go ahead now. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we are a part of Seattle Chota Mridanga, which is a group of kids trying to save our precious Vedic culture. Our worldwide. Okay, I'll just stop.
Yeah. Okay.
I think your document is loading. Yeah.
So we are a group of children trying to save our precious Vedic culture by preserving the Vedas. Kavya, can you go
Can
to
you
the...
see the next screen?
No, we still see the first one.
Okay. Now can you see it?
Our worldwide project is called Go Matsya, which is a project to preserve our Vedic culture through mass distribution and educating people about it. This is the official project to save the Vedic knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Kavya, you can skip this one. So Vyasadeva, he wrote all the Vedas, but he wasn't feeling satisfied. So he asked his guru Narada Muni what he should do, and Narada Muni explains that he has written about everything that we need to know, except about the most important thing of all, which is about Lord Sri Krishna's pastimes and activities and about him. So he instructs Vyasadeva to write the Srimad Bhagavatam, which will be about Krishna's pastimes and activities. So Vyasadeva writes the last 18,000 verses, 1,800 verses, I think.
18,000.
Oh yeah, 18,000 verses for us, and that is called the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the ripened fruit of the Vedas. And Kavya, you can go to the next one. So Parikshit Maharaj is the last king in the family of the Pandavas, and he got a curse by a sage's son that he will die in 7 days, and he was lucky enough to get a warning, so he decides to he calls a lot of sages and asks them what he should do. So they say to give up all material things like your kingdom and focus your life on Krishna. And then Sukadeva Goswami says that I will tell you about the Srimad Bhagavatam, and you can listen to it in your last days of your life, and then you can go back to Godhead. So Dharma is we represent Dharma as a bull, and this bull has 4 legs, and these legs stand for 4 different things: cleanliness, truthfulness, mercifulness, and austerity. So 3 of these legs have broken, and the only one standing is the leg of truthfulness, and this leg is also wobbling. So Dharma incarnates as the Bhagavatam and comes to help us re-establish Dharma, and so we can have those 4 legs back. The Dasha avatars are Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narsimha, Vamana, Parshurama, Rama, Balaram, Buddha, and Kalki. These are the 10 very popular avatars of Lord Sri Krishna. So the Bhagavad Gita is the scripture where Krishna instructs Arjuna what to do, and that we are not the body, we are the spirit soul, and explains these stuff. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it explains these stuff in deeper, like it explains these in stories and pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna, and different stories of different people. For example, the story of King Chitraketu is explaining that we are not the body and we are the soul. So what the story is that a king named Chitraketu, he does not have a son, and he wants to have a son. So he he finally has a son from his first queen, and they are very attached to the son. And the other queens of King Chitraketu, they are jealous because they don't have a son, so they poison King Chitraketu's son, and he dies. So then Chitraketu, when he sees that the son has died, he is very, very aggrieved, and he does not even feel like living anymore because his son has died. So then Narada Muni explains that we are not the body, we are the spirit soul, and the body is the one that perishes, but the soul is always eternal. So the soul is still there, and this body is not there. So King Chitraketu, he understands this, but he is still very aggrieved. So finally, the son, Narada Muni, brings the son back to life, and the son is like saying that you are not my actual father. I have had many fathers in my past lives and in my future lives too. But the ultimate father is Lord Sri Krishna, who is the father and creator of all the living beings. And that, other examples are the story of Ajamil, who was saved by the holy name of Lord Sri Krishna. So he was a Brahmana by birth, and he was a very nice person, and he followed all the regulative principles. But and then he got married, and then one day he saw a woman who was who had like he was a very sinful woman, and he at once became attracted to her by having bad association with her. So then he decides to leave his own wife, and he decides to take that girl that he sees as a maid, and then soon he marries her, and then they have 10 sons, and the youngest of which was called Narayan. Then Ajamil, he was on his deathbed, and he was about to pass away. So then the Yamudutas, which are the servants of Lord Yamaraj, came, and they were going to take away his soul for all the sinful things he did with that sinful woman. But and then out of fear, Ajamil cried, he called out to his son Narayan, and at once the Vishnu Dutas appeared, and they were stopping the Yamadutas because Ajamil had said the name of the Lord, and he was saved by that holy name of the Lord. So we can understand from the story that the holy name can save us from the from going to Yamaloka or other bad things. So if we continuously chant this, we will have all good fortune, and we will be eternally happy. Another story is the story of Gajendra, who was saved by his surrender unto Lord Sri Krishna. Gajendra was previously King Indradumna, and he was a very great devotee of the Lord, and he got cursed by a sage because he was doing meditation, and he did not receive the sage because he was in his deep penance. So the sage got angry, and he cursed him to become an elephant. So Indradumna, King Indradumna became an elephant and was the king of elephants known as Gajendra. Gajendra one day went with his other elephant friends to have a quick drink in the river. So he went into the river, and then since there was a crocodile living in that river, and since elephants, they stomp a lot and they're very loud, that crocodile got disturbed. So he was very angry, and he decided to punish Gajendra for doing that and disturbing him. So he bites his leg. And elephants are very strong, but they're strong on land. The crocodile is stronger in the water. So the crocodile bit Gajendra's leg very hard, and the Gajendra he couldn't escape. So he took a lotus flower from the water and held it in his trunk, as you can see in the picture, and he offered some prayers to Lord Vishnu. And at once Lord Vishnu came on flying on Garuda and came to kill the crocodile. So he threw his Sudarshan Chakra and killed the crocodile. And then the crocodile, he was formerly a Gandharva. The king of Gandharvas, named King Huhu. He emerged from the dead body of the crocodile and offered some prayers to the Lord, and then went back to his abode. Then Gajendra, he came into his normal form as King Indradumna Maharaj, and he went back to Godhead. So Gajendra was saved by his surrendering unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Ria?
Yeah, okay, I'm gonna screen share. Kavya, can you stop screen
Sure.
sharing? Okay. Okay. 1 minute. Okay, can you see
Yeah.
my screen?
Yeah, Ria.
Okay. The Srimad Bhagavatam is endorsed by many teachers, such as Sri Ramanujacharya and Sri Madhavacharya. And Sri Ramanujacharya was a South Indian Brahmana, and he was from the Sri Sampradaya, and Madhavacharya also was the teacher of the Vedanta, and he also accepted and taught the information of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam is also accepted and endorsed by Santa Tukaram and Sri Vallabhacharya. And Santa Tukaram was a great devotee of Lord Krishna, and Vallabhacharya was known as Vallabha, and both of them were great devotees of Lord Krishna. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also accepted it. He was a founder of the Gaudiya Vaishnavism, and he's considered to be an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And all of these personalities, they accepted the Srimad Bhagavatam and taught its teachings. And the Srimad Bhagavatam was also accepted by the Beatles, and they were the first large sponsors of the worldwide printing, publishing, and distribution of the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Krishna book. And they were world-renowned musicians, and they were known for their hit records like My Sweet Lord. And yeah, George Harrison, who was the leader of that Beatles, he was very intrigued into Vedic philosophy, and he wrote the foreword of the Krishna book. So the Srimad Bhagavatam also talks about many scientific discoveries that the scientists have only recently found out. So discoveries that there are things in the Srimad Bhagavatam that was already discovered long time ago, but was only now discovered by the scientists. And there's also things in the Srimad Bhagavatam which aren't discovered by scientists yet. And the Srimad Bhagavatam talks about the development of the embryo and the concept of time in the 3rd canto. The Srimad Bhagavatam also talks about cosmology and the it talks about cosmology and the structure of the universe, and it's explained in the 5th canto. And also the discoveries of the scientists in our universe are only limited to this universe, but the Srimad Bhagavatam talks about what's also outside of this universe. So the Srimad Bhagavatam talks about the founders of Buddhism and Jainism and their philosophy and their origin. And the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam talks about Tirthankara of Jainism, Rishabha as an avatar of Vishnu, and it also talks about Buddha. And here is the Vedic culture is very scientific and practical, and these are designed for the ultimate benefit of mankind. And so the Srimad Bhagavatam explains the rich Indian culture. And India is also the land of great ancient and spiritual heritage. And the Srimad Bhagavatam talks about many important places like Dwarka and Mayapur and Jagannath Puri, and also holy rivers like the Yamuna and Ganga. And also how the Yamuna and Ganga descended on this earth. So the Srimad Bhagavatam also explains the secrets of yoga and meditation. Yeah. So the Vedic culture, it helps kids learn values from a very young age through fun stories. And so here are some stories. So once there was a demon king named Hiranyakashipu, and his son was a devotee of Vishnu, but Hiranyakashipu considered himself an enemy of Vishnu, so he tried to kill his son Prahlad. And also, so then he tried to kill Prahlad, but Prahlad was always protected by Lord Vishnu. And so we can learn tolerance and humility from Prahlad Maharaj, and also he was very mature, and he was very young. And Dhruva Maharaj was also example of like performing devotional service at such a young age. He was only 5 years old, and then because of being like rejected by his father, he went to the forest and did tapasya and austerities for 6 months according to the instruction of his mother, and he was disappointed by the harsh words of his stepmother. And then so he did austerity until Lord Vishnu appeared in front of him and granted him his own planet. And from Dhruva, we can learn, since he was only 5 years old, we can like learn tolerance and also perseverance. So children especially are attracted to Lord Hanuman. Hanuman was a great devotee of Lord Rama, and when Ravana abducted Mother Sita, Lord Hanuman flew across the ocean as a messenger of Ram to find Sita, and he also, during the war when Lakshmana was wounded, he brought like a whole mountain to cure Lakshmana. And also the Srimad Bhagavatam not only helps us learn many things like qualities, wisdom, and so much more, it also helps us learn Sanskrit. So there is a Sanskrit verse, then there's a Sanskrit verse in English letters, and then there's a word-for-word translation, and then there is a full translation, and then a purport which detailedly explains the translation. Yeah, so I think okay. So the
Rita,
yes, yeah,
it's my slide.
yeah,
Can I share screen?
yes.
So like if you donate or like buy books, these are the benefits. So we're gonna talk about like who will benefit from like giving a donation or buying these books. So it helps us publish more books. The Bhaktivedanta Book Trust is the world's largest publisher of Vedas and like Vaishnava texts. It also includes books translated into 87 languages.
Don't.
It publishes audiobooks and ebooks too. So for the past 45 years, the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust has worked hard to maintain the high standards that Srila Prabhupada put for the publication of these books. So it helps us to spread the Krishna conscious movement throughout the world. So these are Vedic educational institutes. It helps us construct. This is the TOVP. So this is in Mayapur, and it's called the Temple of the Vedic Planetarium. It is the world's headquarters for like the International Society of Krishna Consciousness. So it's in Mayapur, that's near Calcutta. So we also put Bhagavad Gitas in motels, hospitals, and libraries. So people trying to commit suicides go to motels, and before doing the act, they search for a paper to write a will, or trying to read something motivational before they commit suicide. But then all of a sudden, they read the Bhagavad Gita that is lying in the drawer of the motel room. So people have near-death experiences in hospitals. They understand these books better, and they're like very grateful to us. So we also give it to libraries so that people who cannot afford it can like get a chance of reading it by borrowing it. We have books in prisons. Sorry. So lots of prisoners, like in the ISKCON prison ministry program, have been touched by our distribution of books to them. So these are like letters of by the prisoners to us. So we distribute close to 500 books every year just to prison houses all over US. So this is for libraries in many unprivileged villages. So they don't have access to books or Vedas, but now they do because of our donations. So these books help provide children with education, like important lessons and values that they can use later in life. So this is Seattle's first free vegetarian food truck. So we serve nothing but hot, fresh vegetarian meals to feed all the people of Seattle. We serve about like 1,000 homeless people every week over 4 days, and we fed 15,000 meals ever since the pandemic spread, I think 4 months ago. So these are letters and photos of the happy visitors. So we also have Goloka farms in Redmond and Auburn. So this helps us save cows from slaughterhouses. We have about like 50 cows and calves, and we're still growing. And we distribute like 100 bottles of milk on like a weekly basis. We also host visitors and people who come to like visit, like as audience. We also organize many festivals in Seattle, which attract about 25,000 people each year. We have Anand Mela, Janmashtami, Rath Yatra, Diwali, the Veg Fest, Festival of Compassion, Namaste India, and so many more festivals are the hard work of our volunteers at the Vedic Cultural Center of Sammamish. So we have many activities such as henna. You can make spice, flower mandala. You can make aromatherapy oils. You can make roti. There's a cupcake decorating booth. There's even an art gallery and stage performances by children. So the festivals basically show Indian culture through live demos of like the Indian way of life, and they also offer food from various regions of India. So these are the pictures of the Goloka farm in Auburn and Redmond. So we are also working to build a Balaji temple in Bellevue. So the Vedic Cultural Center is the Mamish. We need more donations to construct the temple. So this Bhagavatam has 18 books and it has 12 cantos. These books are filled with interesting stories for people of all ages, and it helps us find inner peace and happiness. So each canto is a different limb of Krishna's body. So this also adds to the fact that Srimad Bhagavatam is Krishna himself, so we should read it with full faith. So even if you don't want to read it, you can at least accept it into your house. That's like accepting God into your house. So these are some other ways you can help support us. So this is, we have Bhadra Purnima on September 1st. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam 12.13.13, there's a verse that says, Prashtopadyam Purnamasam Hema Simha Samanvitam Dadati Yo Bhagavatam Sayati Paramam Gatim. So it means that if on the full moon day of Bhadra, one places a Srimad Bhagavatam on a golden throne and gives it as a gift, he will attain the supreme transcendental destination. So Janmashtami or Bhadra Purnima is not only a very auspicious day to start your spiritual journey by gifting a set of Srimad Bhagavatam to your family and friends, but it is also an amazing opportunity to tell the world about the benefits of Srimad Bhagavatam for modern society has long forgotten. So you can help us in 3 ways: by preserving it, donating for the printing and publishing. You can distribute it by accepting a Srimad Bhagavatam into your house or gifting it to a friend. Educating it by joining our Vedic classes for adults and children to learn deep wisdom as well as become a part of our volunteer. So you can choose how your donation is going to be used. There's a lot of set of options. You can choose between feeding 10 homeless people a fresh, hot vegetarian meal. You can feed a cow for a week. You can get free enrollment for your children at our Vedic school for 1 semester, or you can get more children's Vedic storybooks with beautiful pictures. So you can help us revive this Vedic culture. To make a massive impact, we want to distribute 10,000 Srimad Bhagavatam sets all over the world for Bhadra Purnima. So if you would like to receive a Bhagavatam, you can talk to Prabhuji or you can talk to us. So we can send you a set before Bhadra Purnima, and we can tell you more about our activities for children and adults. So thank you for listening to us today about our initiative to save our Vedic culture. We pray for you and your family's good health and spiritual happiness in these tough times. Do you have any questions or feedback for us? If not, then please contact your Bhakti Gita teacher and get your Srimad Bhagavatam set this Bhadra Purnima.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kavya, Riya, and Sai Amrita. Thank you for a wonderful presentation.
Yeah, it was an amazing presentation. Well done, children.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, we are inspired by hearing your stories. Thank you.
So kids like this, they are the hope for the future.
Exactly. Yes.
They are coming and sharing. That gives us hope. Actually, we can train our kid, all of our kids like that, and re-spiritualize the entire world, rekindle this spiritual wisdom, and make everyone really happy and fulfill the real purpose of life. That's the whole purpose of organizing this. It's not about money. Money comes and goes. This whole purpose of these children doing this, all of this is selfless service. We want more people to get this knowledge. That's the idea behind. First of all, you can get for your own home if you don't have it. Again, this is just a request from us. We don't expect anything to do it. We need to inform you. You need information about this so that you can act on it. So these are all the various projects that are going on, whether it is farm or temple, Balaji temple that Nitin Prabhu was also mentioning before, or the milking the cows that we have, and the festivals we do, and the books we our temple is a very vibrant place. Not only our temple, all the ISKCON temples all over the world are like that, more or less. Yeah, so this is one way for you to know what we do, so that 'cause everybody has certain cause they would be after. If something inspires you, you love cows, you can contribute in that direction. You love reading books and you want to share with somebody else, yes, we have an avenue. You want to raise your children in Vedic culture, yes, we have an opportunity. So we are just showing all the avenues that you can connect with our temple, the various ways we have. And now you can think, go back and think about where you can connect with. Again, it's not that you need to do it right now immediately. It's
Mhm.
something to keep in your mind. Yeah?
Prabhuji, just to add, we have the Krishna book that was mentioned in the presentation, right? And my son loves it. He has read it at least 5 times. It has very colorful pictures and like stories in a way that kids can understand. So it's an awesome book for everybody. Just firsthand experience. My son has been. We've had the book I think for like 2 years now, and he just doesn't put that book down. He just reads it every day, and I've seen him read it so many times. So that's a wonderful book to get. And then the Srimad Bhagavatam to Prabhu, I have two like full versions. I got one full set from the temple, but honestly, I haven't. I started reading the first canto, and I haven't read like enough of that. But I need to. But yeah, I have two full sets of that too, and I'm
That's
starting to read like you had mentioned to me, like just one chapter a day or like one of those. So I'm
correct.
trying to read that with my family.
Very nice, very nice. That will be awesome.
So,
Any home that has a Bhagavatam study, there is no inauspiciousness in that home. That is what is mentioned in scripture, because that is directly Krishna. And
Mhm.
when you interact with, when you associate with Krishna on a daily basis, where is the question of any bad things happening or any inauspiciousness in your life? So it is the most wonderful initiative you have taken on.
Prabhuji, I have a question. Like when like these kids are going to, like you said, Vedic school, right? Like my son is also like attending the sessions on Sundays, evenings, where I've enrolled him for the Vedic classes, and he's been doing that last year and then this year again. But is there more? Like, is there more classes that I can, what other, like I want him to like learn more for sure.
The
I mean,
best
I don't know if,
thing, the
yeah.
best thing is, besides the Sunday evening class,
Uh-huh.
we also have children class on Saturday and Sunday mornings by
Okay.
our our local spiritual leader
Mm-hmm.
Hariprasad Maharaj.
Mm-hmm.
He trains very nicely. He gives lot of scientific basis to what he teaches.
Mm-hmm.
Actually a very good platform for raising children. They really, these children really shine out well,
Mm-hmm.
because they get sound reasoning, scientific reasoning behind everything. I would consider that is really the best part of education for children in our temple.
Yeah, we all attend it on Sunday and Saturday morning. So
Mhm.
if you go to the Vedic Cultural Center YouTube channel, there will be like a live thing going on every time in the morning.
Yeah,
Like
at least
7:30, right? On Saturday
Yeah,
and Sunday.
yeah, and also like after there's like an arti at 5:30 in the morning. After that, there's a class after that too. You can find it on YouTube too.
Cool. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
thank you, Kavi.
And if you were wondering, the Krishna book is actually a part of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam.
Very nice. So my son has been reading that. That's good. Hare
That
Krishna.
was the best book. Even when I started, that was the attractive for me.
Mhm.
Yeah, I used to read every single day. It was such a wonderful reading. Anyway, so if something inspires you, I mean, you don't need to really, think that this is something I have to do, but keep this in your mind, at the back of your mind. If you are inspired by something, everything should come out of inspiration. That's what my philosophy is. Nothing should be out of duty, or it should, if something connects with you, let me know. And if it can be any help in your endeavor, I would be the most happiest. Okay.
Also, one more thing is that all the donors' names will be collected and offered in a Mahayagna in the place in India called Naimisharanya, where Srimad Bhagavatam was once recited by Sukadev Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit.
Thank you, Kavya, for letting us know that. Okay, so I think we can end here. If you have any questions or anything, you can
Um,
discuss further though.
yeah, I think what Kavya meant was the place where Sutta Goswami told the Srimad Bhagavatam to the sages of Namasharanya.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Thank you, Ria. Thank you
So
all.
if you would like a Srimad Bhagavatam, please contact Proji and he'll tell us.
Yeah, I think that is clear now. Okay. Yeah, so the class is over. So we'll end the call here. Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Sai Amrita.
Thank you so much for your time.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, I have a question on Ganesh Chaturthi. Is it okay if I just stay back and ask the question?
Yeah, yeah. Yes, Mataji, you can.
Okay.
You can ask now.
Oh, okay. Prabhuji, so one question that I had is like we do puja to Lord Krishna, and I have I have a small mandir with like pretty much all the like devas and devtas, right? Like, and I have a Shri Krishna Murti in in the temple, like in the place that we worship, and we usually offer give offering to Lord Krishna. But with Ganesh Chaturthi, I've seen some of my friends do this. Like my best friend is from Pune, and she has done this. Like she'll put a Ganesh Ji's murti and do puja for like 10 days. And I started doing this since like last year or so. So we make bhog, right, like food and offering. So I offer to Ganesh Ji, and then I was thinking in my mind, like I like just put nuts as like prasadam for Lord Krishna, and then we just have that every day evening. But now that we have this Ganesh Ji's like murti also, and I'm offering to Lord Ganesha, like what is there a standard there? Like, is it okay for me to do that, or do I offer like first to Lord Krishna and then to like Lord Ganesha, or like is like I I was feeling guilty yesterday and not sure like if I'm doing it right or wrong, or is there even a right or wrong in this sense?
Yeah, definitely there is. I will give you context for, and then you will get the answer yourself.
Okay.
Who is Ganesha? Ganesha
Mm-hmm.
is the son of Lord Shiva, and he is a demigod.
Mm-hmm.
Who is a demigod? Demigod is a jiva like you and me, but
Mm-hmm.
is empowered. Empowered, just like who is a cabinet minister? A cabinet minister is like one of us, but he's empowered with certain judicial or certain policy powers, right?
Mm-hmm.
They can do more than what you and me can do.
Right.
They're empowered.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, Ganesha was an empowered jiva.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Lord Shiva is not like that. We will not discuss about Lord Shiva. He is much superior to Ganesha, but just talking about Ganesha,
Mm-hmm.
he is a demigod. The demigods are empowered representatives. So
Mm-hmm.
when the ideal way to worship them
Mm-hmm.
is in relation with Vishnu or Krishna.
Mm.
For example, specifically Ganesha, I have sent the sloka in our WhatsApp group today.
Yeah, I
Where,
read that.
where does he derive power? He is a upasaka of Narsingadev. Lord
Mm-hmm.
Narsingadev is, upasak. Upasak means worshipper. So he derives his powers by worship of Lord Narsimhadeva,
Mm-hmm.
and through which he is empowered to do the activities that he does to serve the people of this world. So ideally,
Mm-hmm.
even they would be a little bit embarrassed when we offer them before offering to the Supreme Lord on the side. So
Mm-hmm.
ideal way to, just like suppose the Prime Minister of India Modi comes and also the local MLA comes to your home together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you sit them together, you make them sit together, on comfortable sofa in your home, and then you start praising your local MLA. What
Mm-hmm.
does he feel? Does
Okay.
he feel embarrassed or not?
Yeah, but maybe that's why, Prabhuji, I was feeling really guilty last evening. Like we did the aarti, like I usually do the aarti for Lord Krishna too, right? Om Jai Jagdish, like we chant, we were singing that, and then we also did Ganesh Puja, and then when we are making bhog, that's when last night, like I was thinking while going to bed that like maybe like it's not just like what we usually offer. Maybe we should just offer it to Lord Krishna and then just pray, right? That's good enough.
Definitely, no, you can definitely worship Ganesha. Uh,
Mm,
See, we also go to Ganesh temple, but
mm,
understand the relation between, we don't worship him as a independent god. You see the difference?
mm,
The
right.
main misconception of
Mm-hmm,
many people, especially the so-called Hindus,
mm-hmm,
is that they think all gods are one and the same, or equally powerful, or
mm,
equal. They're all equal,
mm-hmm,
and this is one thing that all the Western Abrahamic religions
mm-hmm,
condemn about our religion, because we have no clarity on who is what,
mm,
because none of the people are educated in scriptures, or
mm-hmm,
they just you know do what are coming as a tradition in family, or nobody has real, most of the people, even I didn't have any understanding of who is Ganesha, what is the relation, whether really God exists. All
mm-hmm,
these concepts were not clear until I'm 21.
mm,
When I started looking at Gita, that's when it opened my eyes. And
mm-hmm,
then yeah, so we'll learn more about, I don't want to add too much at this point, but in Bhagavad Gita 7th chapter, 8th chapter talks about, 9th chapter talks about many slokas that relate, that talk about the position of demigods
mm-hmm,
and what it means to who worship them, and what are the benefits of worshiping them, and yeah, what's the whole thing, and what's the connection between demigods and him, God.
mm-hmm.
All of that is explained. So we'll learn slowly over a period
Sounds
of
good.
time.
Thank
But
you.
yeah, understand that there is nothing wrong. We don't, we are not against worship of Ganesha or anything like that. we love him as a devotee of Lord
Mhm.
Narasimha.
Mhm.
And yeah, so but when you understand into two means in totality,
Mhm.
who is who is what, everything is clear, then your understand your methods of worship and everything falls in proper place. You see the point?
Yeah.
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 So
That makes sense. And then, Prabhuji, just to also call out, like you had asked us to read the Gita, like the different chapters, and I started reading that last night, and it actually gave me a lot of joy. I don't know like how to explain it, but I was just reading at night. This was like at 10 or so, and I was reading it aloud, so I could hear it, and then the meaning also, and I really felt good reading that. I think I read like 25, 22 verses or so of the first chapter, and it just felt good. Very different. Yeah, that was good. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
thank
I'll
you.
definitely like make Hogan offer to Lord Krishna, and then like think about it in, like you said, holistically, right? Versus thinking of them as like separate.
Correct. Yeah. So some of the people consider, the people of ISKCON, they are very much, uh, you know, just worship Krishna and not worship others.
Mm.
But what we do is all based on scriptures. There is a, you know, and and in our temple we equally worship Lord Rama, Narsinga, all these Vishnu incarnations. There is nothing, but specific focus was there on Krishna,
Mm-hmm.
because you need focus. I mean, you have to have certain focus. You can be a focused worshipper of Rama also. That is nothing
Mm-hmm.
wrong. It's perfectly all right. Uh,
Yeah, and the thought also, Prabhuji, was like, I know somewhere I've heard this. I think it was my dad or somebody. Somewhere I've heard this, that whoever you pray to, that is the level you will reach or something. So
that,
if you so that's what that's what got me thinking last night, that oh, now I've put a Ganesh ji in my house, like for the next 10 days I'm going to do puja. Does this mean that I'm limited there now? Like I cannot go beyond that? Like is that the level? Like do you, like those were some of the thoughts that I was getting, like am I doing this right? Is this something that I should be doing spiritually
no, I
or
mean, it is, there is nothing wrong. I mean, don't worry too much about that.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, of course, you were doing that all the while, and you continue to do it. It's, see, as long as your understanding is proper on who is Lord,
Mm-hmm.
who is Vishnu, who is demigods,
Mm-hmm.
what's the relation, what is the method of worship, is that, if that understanding is clear,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as a family tradition, you can still continue doing what, but your overall understanding, you're not, you have totality of understanding, right? So as long as that is there, then there is nothing wrong.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm relieved. Thanks, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
And just want to, Prabhu, sorry, I might have missed it, but Mahabharat, though, was been spoken by Vasudev as a history, but it was written by Ganesh ji
Yeah,
on the request. And when if Ganesh ji is writing it, and Vyasji put a condition that I'll tell you, but you have to understand and put it properly. And Bhagavad Gita was part of the Mahabharata, and it's in Bhagavad Gita verses it says Bhagwan Uvacha. If Ganesh ji can also say Bhagwan Uvacha to Sri Krishna, that means Sri Krishna is the ultimate God, and that's, I think, spoken part of the device classes as well.
correct.
So just
So
want to
these all the
correct.
slokas that we are reading are actually written by Ganesh ji. By
Yes, correct. So Ganesh ji himself is saying who is the supreme personality of Lordhead, Godhead. So that proves the point there.
Makes sense.
And I think Prabhuji always says that, and even in our ISKCON philosophy, that we always respect demigod,
Mm-hmm.
but in the mood that we say that please give us so that we can do the bhakti for Krishna. Give
Mm-hmm.
us a blessings. So we don't treat them as a supreme personality of Godhead, but we treat them as a great devotee who
Mm-hmm.
can bless us
Mm-hmm.
to do the more bhakti. Yeah, that's the mood.
So
Thank
here is, thank you so much, Prabhu, for adding very good points. So Mataji, you're asking a question about what happens.
Mhm.
Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail.
Mm.
So ultimately, what we remember at the time of death, that's what. Yeah. And then Krishna clearly says, you see, therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna.
Mm.
And at the same time, carry your own prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. Yeah, see, I mean, he is so direct. He who meditates on me and as the supreme personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path, he, O Partha, is sure to reach me.
Mm.
So assuring. Yeah, so many verses that talk about. This is about a yogi, one who at the time of death fixes his life air between the eyebrows and by the strength of yoga, with an undeviated mind, engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord in full devotion, will certainly attain the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Mhm.
This is the way to die. This is the goal of life. Okay, so anyway,
There are a lot of verses comes which explains Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. So
yeah, so many verses.
so many verses.
Okay,
Vishwaru.
we'll end it here. Thank
Thank
you
you.
all. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thanks,
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.